On this week's show, I'm discussing Control 2, coming to the Game Awards, and does it have a name for its sequel? December's PlayStation Plus games are here and ready to play. A Far Cry TV series is in the works, and I attempt to do a podcast with just one person. All that and much, much more on this week's probably much shorter GamerGuild Podcast. Good game and welcome everyone to this week's GamerGuild Podcast, where you join myself, Chris, as I dive into all the video game news and topics for your viewing discussion right here on youtube.com/GamerGuildTV and available up there in the digital clouds on your podcast platform of choice. Your gamers for the week are myself, Chris, at Arcane Rogue, and that's it. It's just me this week for the first time ever in our 6 and a bit years channel's history, recording this podcast. This is particularly episode 120, episode 491 in total of our podcasting heritage and history. We've never missed an episode. Every single Monday an episode is dropped. And unfortunately, Richie can't be with us this week because he's had some personal things going on with loved ones, and he's had to. We've not managed to nail down a schedule. Everything's fine. Don't worry about it. And thank you for everyone in our Discord server who we let know over the weekend, because of course this episode usually drops for our members a little bit early, but we weren't able to get it out on our normal time. We traditionally record on a Friday evening usually. Couldn't find it Friday. Couldn't find some time Saturday. Then went trickled into Sunday. We thought we were going to get a little window of opportunity. But again, priorities, folks. Family comes first, as they say, especially loved ones and such. So, we were thinking about just leaving it. But the stubbornness in my heart will not allow us to break that streak of never missing an episode over six years. So you've got me for probably a more condensed episode. I'm very curious to not only see how long I can just talk for, to vamp as Tom would say, to keep it going for as long as possible. But I do have, hopefully, a great show lined up for you all. I've hopefully tried to keep the visuals here. Audio will hopefully be fine. It will go up on feeds as per usual. And we did reach out to Rob and Tom, and again, it's just the short notice, the schedules. We've all got families and busy things, especially this time of year, as you know, our wonderful audience out there, the fantastic people who support the channel, who do tune in for gibberish like me talking non-stop for maybe under an hour about video games. Plenty of news to talk about. We do have a great show lined up for you. The Game Awards is on the horizon, so there's plenty to do with the channel coming up in the near future. But if you don't already, do follow us on social media at GamerGuildTV. Do give us a like, subscribe, ring that bell so you're kept in the loop with all the great content we do here at the channel. Normally, on this small 1-man, 2-man, 3-man, 4-man crew, we do try and get together and put something out every single week as part of a weekly live stream. The most recent one we had was Uncharted 5, Uncharted Part 5 I should say, is up on the channel now. So if you are interested in the Uncharted series, it's there, it's available to watch. All parts, that is the entirety of Uncharted 2 among thieves, with yours truly. One of my favourite video game series of all time. They've been dropping weekly, they've been dropping early for our wonderful Guild Heroes. That's all up there now. We'll probably put it out in one full collection. I know some people like to binge watch it in like one big massive movie, as opposed to episodic format. Anyone who's currently trying to work their way through the Strange Things Season 5 will know all about the weekly drops, or the quarterly, monthly, whatever the hell they're doing with Season 5 of that one. I will get around to it eventually. That is up now, so there'll probably be something new going up recently. We also had on the channel my new series that's just started, which is my hunt, my PlayStation Retro Hunt, where I try and find the most unique, rare, black label PlayStation 1 games at the moment to add to my collection on the wall behind me. So if you are curious about a bit of nostalgia, a bit of PlayStation history, do join me in the hunt as I dive into this. I've got quite a collection so far, but I am missing literally hundreds of titles. So if you're curious about that, if you enjoyed the original PlayStation games, I'm specifically on the hunt for black label editions, which the platinum ones you can see behind me here. They are the copies that sold over 400, 500,000 copies, and then they got a re-release with a new cover and a platinum. Now, as a child, that didn't bother me at all. But when it came to being a collector and trying to keep them and build out my collection, I've kind of gone back and delved into it a little bit more, and actually I'd rather have the originals. So I've gone and replaced my original Crash Bandicoot. There's a few others. We've got a few new videos in the pipeline already. We've got Rugrats, The Search for Rector, absolute classic, and the original Gran Turismo. So again, the PlayStation's biggest selling franchise of all time is Gran Turismo. And I had Gran Turismo 2 as a child. I remember playing it with my brother, the arcade, when we had it over 2 discs. But we never had one, it kind of just passed us by. So to not have the original as part of my collection felt like a mishap. So I'll explore that as that series continues. Thank you to everyone who's checked out that video so far. But as I said, that wouldn't only be possible without you, the wonderful folks who support us at home, the people who do like, the people who do comment, the folks in our Discord server, and I guess more importantly, our wonderful guild heroes, the fantastic members of the channel who support us that extra little bit further, just like you can from as little as 99p. You get early access to things like Uncharted, things like PlayStation Retro Hunt, a couple of things Richie puts out like the Pokemon Blue series, and everything along the way, and lovely stickers and badges next to your name in our live chat when we do go live on streams. And we do have the Game Awards coming up soon, so I do hope you're all going to join us for the Game Awards. We got our nominations in last week. We talked through some of the categories, the nominees. Slight controversy around some of the award nominees up there, but the Game Awards ultimately are a time where we get a shit ton of trailers, a bunch of new stuff, reveals, announcements, sprinkled in with a bit of nostalgia and kind of fanfare for the industry that we love and know so well. But we couldn't do all that without the fantastic support of our members, so do check that one out. We also have a fantastic merchandise store. If you're getting a bit cold, if you stuck the heating on, if you're looking for something festive, we do have a merchandise store. There's sales going on all the time. No doubt if you're listening to this on Monday morning, there's probably a Cyber Monday sale there. I'm not sure if it's 100% guaranteed, but usually there's probably been a Black Friday. We probably should have got ahead of it on the channel. There's probably going to be a Cyber Monday deal. So if you are looking for maybe a thicker jumper, a Santa hat, some presents, or maybe a mug to just keep your hot chocolate, your hot cocoa in this time of year, why not go check out the merch store and treat yourself to some really good merchandise, because it is really good quality. I actually enjoy wearing these things around the house, not only because they're our brand, but they are really good clothing actually. So do go check that out. And of course, we like to start every single show by talking about what we've been playing. Now, I was hoping to come on, talk to Richie extensively about a game I've been playing this week that Tom actually got me into. So a few weeks back, Tom came on the channel and he's got some slight tastes in genres and stuff that's maybe a little bit different to myself and Richie. And he waxed lyrical about this game called Dispatch. Now, if you've not played Dispatch, if you've not heard about Dispatch, it's essentially it's from a group of devs who used to work at Telltale Games. So back in the day, if you think about the Jurassic Park Telltale game, the Back to the Future Telltale game, and then they kind of evolved and grew into what was the absolute Game of the Year winning smash hit, the Walking Dead series, and then they went on to do other things. They had a Game of Thrones series. They had a Batman one, which I really enjoyed. They had a Minecraft episodic adventure. And personally, I've enjoyed loads of them. The Wolf Among Us is one of my other favourite titles that they did. But eventually, it got ahead of them. All the franchise royalties and licensees caught up with them, and they couldn't put out enough to make profit, and the game releases slowed down. The engine that they used to use over at Telltale was abysmal. Even though the games themselves weren't really like the top AAA performance pushing games, they just ran so poorly. They were full of bugs and crashes, and ultimately the storytelling suffered for that. We are waiting a long time for the Wolf Among Us 2, which Telltale kind of had like a phoenix rise from the ashes kind of thing happened to it a few years ago, where they kind of got the band back together and a few members, and it was bought out. I think it was, off the top of my head, Skydance, or something to do with Skydance Studios, if I recall. But that studio's been grafting along on the Wolf Among Us sequel, and they have said for some time it's been delayed, it keeps getting knocked back, but they have not mentioned it for ages. So if we see that at the Game Awards in a week or so's time, that'll be a great kind of resurgence story to happen. But I digress, in fact, and I divulge. But the reason I mention that is because Dispatch is made from those people. It's Ad Hoc Studios. This is their first game. They are in the Game Award nominations for Breakout Indie. So although they are up against things like Expedition 33, Blueprints, and a couple of other ones, having now jumped into Dispatch, actually, I could see Uncharted 33, Expedition 33 winning the big Game of the Year award. But you know what, for Best Indie Newcomer, having now played Dispatch, that's what I was going to get to, is I downloaded it on Friday just gone, I think it was, Friday just gone. played through it. It's in an episodic format, the same. It's been released gradually over the last month or so. I've waited until the very end when every episode has been released. I think middle of November was the last episode out of 8. And yeah, I dove into it. But yeah, for those who've not checked out Dispatch, it's essentially classic Telltale beats, really, really good characters, but told with an anime art style of Invincible. So if you've ever watched Invincible on Amazon Prime, fantastic TV show, by the way, you should definitely go check that one out. But yeah, this one is just, it just hooked me straight away. I was playing episode 1. It doesn't have as much Telltale exploration, so all the kind of slow walking around, clicking things and looking in drawers and stuff, that's kind of gone from it. It's very much about anime cutscenes, beautiful, beautiful character creation, vibrant story. But man, after like episode 1 and 2, the decisions I was making and the hook of the characters and the premise of this world, which is essentially you're a hero similar to Iron Man, and you're just a human, you don't have any powers, you just have a mech suit, and you kind of fall on hard times, you run out of money, you have to throw in the towel and basically you're done, you're cooked, the bad guys win. And then you get recruited to a company which they're basically dispatched superheroes. So there's always someone who essentially works in a call centre, and they send out these heroes on these jobs. So when civilians ring in and say, shit, my house is on fire, or we're being attacked by a gang, or terrorists are here, or something like that, this crew basically works in a call centre, dispatches people, heroes, out into the wild to save them. And there's a little mini game in there where you have to kind of pair the right hero with the right mission requirements to get points. But ultimately, it's segmented with great cutscenes, phenomenal acting, like some of the best voice acting I've heard since Expedition 33. The humour is on point. I know Tom alluded to this quite a bit when he was on the show. But yeah, the humour is so good, the voice acting. It's Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad, who's the main guy. You've got Jeffrey Wright in there from Casino Royale, The Hunger Games, recently The Last of Us, TV show and game as well. Laura Bailey's in there as well, again from The Last of Us fame. She's done voiceover in so many things now, Laura Bailey. And then a mixture of like influencers and other people you've probably never heard of before. But yeah, all in all, I fell in love with every single character. I've laughed more at this game than I think I have in probably any game this year. Like the humour is just on point. Like if you enjoy, I said, the humour of Invincible, where there's a bit of tongue-in-cheek, a bit of dirty stuff, a bit of sex jokes, things like that. It just pairs that all beautifully with a really, really good, convincing story. And yeah, I was just in. I was just absolutely in with it. And yeah, I ended up playing like episode to episode. They only really last about, I would say, an hour each. So you're talking 8 hours, maybe 10 at a push if you're taking your time, and with like the mini games and the puzzle games throughout. But yeah, everything Tom said a few weeks ago would completely echo. I'd heard a few things about this. It was only about £30 as well to buy on the PlayStation storefront. But thoroughly enjoyed it. It was one of those, I got to the end, and all of the decisions that I'd made to lead to the finale, there's obviously different outcomes that you can get similar to a classic Telltale game. But by the time we got to there, I immediately finished the game, sat back, thought that was brilliant. I enjoyed every minute of what I was playing. And I wanted to dive straight back in. I wanted to go right back at the start, make different decisions, go down different paths, be the bad guy, romance a different person instead, kick different people off the team at the wrong time, send different heroes out and see how their dialogue lines up and see if I can get a different outcome to this game. So it's going to be very, very interesting over the next, I guess, week or so when I do get some time to dive back into it. But yes, this is skyrocketed right up there to probably maybe my second favourite game of the year, under Expedition 33. I think Expedition in its entirety is just such a phenomenal game. I think it's going to sweep the Game Awards. But Dispatch did come in there really clutch at the end of the year with something that felt very, very fresh but familiar at the same time. So highly, highly recommend it if you're looking for something that's going to respect your time, as I know a lot of our audience, like myself, have families, kids, busy jobs, busy lives, and you don't want to sit down. It is very much episodic. You could do one a night, one a week, do what you want, and you'll have a blast. And I guarantee you'll keep coming back for more. So Dispatch, shot through the ranks. And I think something I was saying to Richie on last week's show, something to do with its release cadence is why it's not in more Game of the Year categories, because I do think it would be in more performance or voice acting. I do think it would be in more art style, direction, music. It uses a little bit of licensed music really, 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 really well throughout. and yeah, I want more. I want a season 2 or a sequel to this game immediately. So yeah, Ad Hoc Studios coming in fantastic with some Telltale experience, and yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. So yeah, Richie, what have you been playing this week? Interesting. Anyone again who somehow missed that, he's not really here. It's just me playing jokes and having fun. But we can't get into the news without introducing us to the
graciously gathered GamerGuild Gazette, aka the news.
The news. And as always, the news is brought to you by our wonderful heroes, the members, the guild heroes, who support the channel that extra little bit more, just like Richie could if he could be here this week. I jest, of course. Right, so let's have a look at the news this week. Let's see if I can pull up some stories and kind of pad them out a little bit without having someone to bounce off. I did think about doing the show live, but ultimately, again, day gets away from you. We've put our Christmas decorations up this weekend now, in time for a busy week. Because, yeah, at the time this episode goes live, there is 25 days to go until Christmas. So time is precious. So, yes, the first story of the week is Control 2 has been listed for its name. A trademark for something known as Control Resonant has been registered in Europe, leading to many speculate that the developer Remedy is going to come up with something out its sleeve for the Game Awards next month.
My brother was just a kid.
The trademark itself was spotted under a classified tag from a different company. It was classified under Nordia Attorneys at Law, which sounds like a character from the Daredevil TV series, but actually it's under same tags as video game service, miscellaneous products, and production of entertainment in the form of TV series and cinematography. I would say cinematographic films. We're just going to say movies, while the Control developers Remedy, not necessarily named in the Attorney at Law series. We should point out that in the past, things to do with Remedy, such as Alan Wake and previous Control games, have been licensed under this name previously. So actually, it's one of those. They're trying to be clever by doing it, I guess, under like a shell company. But there is a reality where, Nordia Attorneys at Law, it's the same firm Remedy's used in the past for all previous trademarks. So yes, the interesting thing we do know about is there's a Control movie or TV series in the pipeline, because back in 2024, Annapurna announced that it had partnered with Remedy to produce and develop this kind of movie, TV, audio-visual projects, is what they said, in line with also Control and Alan Wake, because if you've not played Alan Wake 2, Alan Wake 1 as well, they're all connected part of this Remedy universe. So yeah, we knew Control sequel was coming. We knew it was announced back in 2022. The developer said, it's going to be going on a crazy journey. With all that, we know Alan Wake 2 took a while to break even though it was my game of the year. When it came out, it was a phenomenal game. And it's one of those where actually Remedy, I guess, they make such good games. And yeah, I always feel like they're undervalued. Control, surprisingly enough, is probably one of its super fun, but like weaker in terms of story. And yet it sold numbers, and it just shows you whether it's marketing or the protagonist or the characters. But I'm super excited for Control 2. So they've kept it pretty much under wraps since Alan Wake 2 came out. They had FBC Firebreak, which launched earlier this year, really, really poorly. That I think someone left at Remedy, if I remember, stepped down because it had performed so bad. But it's been a while since Control 2. I think it's been 2018, I want to say, maybe. So it's been quite a while, and although they've been toiling away on Alan Wake 2 and they put out the Alan Wake 2 DLC, the Lake House came as well. They confirmed the DLC, the sequel to Control a while back, and if you have played Alan Wake 2, it kind of, especially the DLC, it kind of ties in with the wider Remedy universe. And Control Resonant, I don't mind it. I think Control 2 Resonant will be fine. Interesting choice of words to see what it's going to do, but I think we will definitely see it at the Game Awards, purely because Remedy have had a great relationship in the past with Jeff Keighley. They've traditionally always been at his events. I mean, even on last year's Game Awards, the Alan Wake 2 crew did a whole dance number at the awards ceremony as part of it. So I could definitely see that one. So Trademark, they're trying to sneak it in there. I think we'll see it at the Game Awards. I think we're going to see a couple of interesting announcements at the Game Awards. I'm hoping for some fun, exciting things to kind of round out the year, which we always like to see. But yeah, interesting stuff. Let me know in the comments below, please, for every one of these stories, because I am talking to myself for a while. It'll be interesting to see what your takes are on a couple of these stories. So yeah, again, would have loved to do this live, but I'm currently recording at 11:07 p.m. on a Sunday night. So kind of didn't fancy going live now, thinking some of you will still be in bed. But moving on to story number 2, because we can't get Richie's or Tom's or Rob's take on that particular story. PlayStation Plus games for December are now out. And it's an interesting one with PlayStation Plus because they've had a really good year overall, but there's always this kind of sourness when it's competing with Game Pass on the market that it's not doing as well. And I think it's a disservice towards PlayStation Plus, especially if you're on the kind of premium extra tier, because the library has been fantastic. Remember, these are the claimable games, so they're not including the hundreds of titles you can also play anyway. This particular lineup, if we look at this, comes with, kicking things off, Horizon Adventures. So seeing out the year.
Next.
Hey, look,
Join
this is
Hunter
a
Aloy.
hot
She
dog
battles to
fry.
save her
Auditioning
from an
for
ancient
the,
digit
oh,
demon
the
and a gang
lead
of
in
some
unannounced action
worshippers
games.
We see you
who
as
want to
more of
live
a
in a
side
world
Oh, sure,
without
I
shit,
get that a
so
lot,
they can
but,
soak the
check
rays
out my
while
range.
everything burns. It's essentially a couch co-op game with a Lego motif over it.
Oh,
A
hilarity.
fun, whimsical kind of comedy, I guess, twist on the whole Horizon series. We actually learned last week that Horizon as an IP was sold 30 plus 35 million copies across Horizon and Forbidden West and Hollow Mountain. We know there's an MMORPG coming to mobile, which was also announced a few weeks back. And this Lego Horizon Adventures, I'm curious, I wonder if they include Lego Horizon in that franchise selling. But overall, it's a nice little couch co-op game, not too long, beautifully realised world in Lego, not too dissimilar to modern Lego games, but not with as much, I guess, breakability and puzzles as you might expect from a traditional TT games, not Telltale Traveller's Tales games, who make that one. But yeah, you play as Aloy, you can play as Val, and 2 other characters whose names are eluding me now. But yeah, I got the Platinum last year, I think Richie did as well. Really enjoyed it. I played it solo, Richie played it with his girlfriend.
What is this place?
And yeah, it's just a short retelling of the Horizon story, and you fight some fun dinosaur, robot Lego creatures, you have a little cook world that you can build up. But overall, I think it's a really good game actually. Released on Nintendo Switch, remember, back in the day. Second game up is Killing Floor 3. This is the next evolution of the first-person action horror franchise. Killing Floor 3 resurrects the gut-churning combat the series is famed for, pitting up against 6 other players and waves of enemies across various maps, reared and released by the Megacorp Horizon Frenzy Swarm bioengineered creatures. Killing Floor 3, it's basically it's first person, go hack and slash people. Think of what's the TV show called? TV show, the movie, sorry, The Purge. Think of The Purge, but you're basically fighting monsters instead, which is probably a terrible one. My brother absolutely loves the Killing Floor series. Killing Floor 2, he's put literally 100 plus hours in. But yeah, Killing Floor 3, it's more of the same. Fight a multitude of enemies. You have a merciless list of weapons and gadgets, so you can melt through these zombie things and these monsters. New abilities, I think they've added a dash and a climb into this one. You can customize your loadout better than ever before. But yeah, it is a really fun game, but it's one of those AA games that just you can lose yourself in for an hour or two and just go shoot stuff up. Think I guess like Wolfenstein-esque kind of thing, but with zombies rather than Nazis in a way. We've also got the Outlast Trials as well. This is Outlast Trials. That's not the VR one, is it? Don't think. Let's have a read of the PlayStation blog. Keep myself good. See, this is where when we've got 2 people on the show, what we can do really, really well that helps is you can ping around and you can say, so, Richie, over to you, while I find more about the actual game, because of course, as much as we cover gaming, we can't know every single thing. But this game's about a year old now, is from what I'm seeing. And if we get the PlayStation blog up to get you some visuals, Red Barrels invites you to experience the mind-numbing terror in this first-person psychological survival horror that can be played solo or up to 3 players online. You've been abducted by the Murkoff Corporation and trapped inside their facility. Your goal, earn the right to be released back into society. In order to do so, you must complete trials and MK challenges in pure Outlast fashion. The core gameplay revolves around avoiding enemies, hiding from them, and trying not to run away. Murkoff will provide tools that can use to increase your stealth abilities, create opportunities to slow down enemies and more. However, you'll have to earn those tools and work hard to improve them. Whatever the number of players in your party, it's about surviving and getting out. Now that doesn't strike me as anything to do with the Outlast game so far. I played the first Outlast and a little bit of the sequel, and it was like you have the camcorder, you go into a spooky mansion. This seems like it took the franchise of Outlast and made it into more of a Saw, Dead by Daylight kind of situation. Where, yeah, you and your friends are trying to escape from this prison with basically every horror trope going around. Mannequins, chainsaws, all kinds of weapons. Don't know if it's really doing anything. It's kind of so far beyond what Outlast was originally. Can't say that I'm really down for it. Game's only a year old and it's the first time I've really noticed it. The reason I thought it may have been VR is the artwork for it shows 3 individuals all with like kind of Ghostbusters headsets on, all like reaching out in pain and escape, and I guess that's because it's 3-player, but yeah, the headsets kind of make it look like it would be VR, but I'm not too sure. So yeah, one of those where I think it's a franchise, it's an IP that's quite renowned in the horror world, and trying to, similar to Remedy, what we spoke about with FBC Firebreak, and trying to just kind of monetize it a little bit, but can't say they've really hit the nail on the head. We've also got Sinduality Echoes of Arda. No idea what this one is either. This takes place in the year 2222. Echoes of Arda, after a mysterious poisonous rain called the Tears of the New Moon wiped out most of humanity and birthed deformed creatures that now hunt the population. Amidst the calamity, humans are forced to build an underground haven to survive. Take on the role of a drifter whose goal is to collect the rare resource known as AO crystals. In your quest, you must collaborate with artificial intelligence, partner to face xenomorphic creatures known as Enders, and survive the hazards on the surface. Rise from the underground to a surface world infested with hostile Enders, toxic rains, and other enemies as you fight for loot. I hate loot in descriptions because it just makes you think of loot. Ride your cradle coffin, cooperate with your magus, and stay alert around other players. One false move is all it takes to lose both your mecha and precious supplies, left to be scavenged by the remaining survivors. Sinduality, this one's called. Yeah, it's a PS5 release. Never heard of it before. I'm guessing it's probably not a day and date one. But if we get the trail up for you visual viewers, listeners out there. Bandai Namco, 10 months ago. Let's have a look what all this one's about. Now, the write-up, what always bugs me sometimes about write-ups is they do a really bad job of just telling you what the game is. They spend so long setting the theme of like, oh, it's an abandoned planet, and it's post-apocalyptic, and there's technology. And it doesn't actually tell you if it's a third person, first person. They drop names in there that you're supposed to know. Like, I don't know what a cradle coffin is, or an ender, or an AO crystal, and yet they say it like you should. Looking at this visually, I usually would share a trailer with this Bandai Namco, and they're quite litigious when it comes to clamping down on the channel. So just visually it looks like you've got a little hub world. It kind of strikes me like Fallout. I think of Fallout in the world, and like there's tech, but it's quite kind of like limited tech. They're doing dances and they've all got skins and stuff, so it's got deluxe ultimate edition with school uniform skin, drifter skin, voucher pass. Let's say the girls in a way look very Japanese style design. Doesn't really tick the bill, that one, unfortunately. We've got Neon White up next as well. Neon White is a lightning fast first person action game. See, straight away, if you mention and talk about what it actually is, everyone's able to tell straight away, right, that's what it is, that's what it's about. I get it, we can get into it. So yes, this one is from Annapurna Interactive.
As above, So
Neon Light.
why do they need assassins
Neon White
in
is
heaven?
a lightning-fast first-person action game
To do
about
someone's
exterminating
dirty
demons in
work.
heaven. Cool. You are White, an assassin handpicked from hell to compete with other demon slayers for a chance to live permanently in heaven. The other assassins seem familiar though. Did you know in your past life collect soul cards to attack your foes or discard them to use like movement abilities and compete for the best times by cleverly combining cards to discover massive shortcuts? This is like a combat card action game, which is very unique.
It's kill or be killed.
I also
You
just
won't
realised
last
that
long if you can't rely on yourself.
on a solo podcast. There's a literal pause and everything because I'm the only one here making any noise. As I took a big gulp, I
God's
was
judgment
actually,
has nothing to
that's
do
just
with
sheer
it.
silence for anyone either watching or listening. Yeah, Neon White looks decent, like the art style, and it is also your last chance to pick up. Well, you've missed it now because you were there. Stray dropped off, World Rally Championship 24, and Tabs is also gone. But we can do our best. So it's okay, I think, as far as the lineup goes. I think Horizon Adventures alone is decent. Killing Floor 3 is good. Outlast and the other ones, we'll see. But again, there's a good mix for everyone. And there's plenty of stuff, no doubt, that's going to drop as part of the catalogue anyway. Moving on to story number 3. We've got Nintendo Switch Online members have added 4 more titles, 4 more new additional games to the list. I'll bring up the trailer for anyone watching along at home. And those games include Kid Icarus of Myths and Monsters, not to be confused with Gods and Monsters, where you'll be soon, and Bionic Commando have been added to the Game Boy app alongside Ninja Gaiden 2, The Dark Sword of Chaos, and Battletoads. Which again, surprised Battletoads wasn't already on there. But yeah, you can check out the trailer now. It's playing on the video for new feeds. In addition to these titles, there've also a new update to the Game Boy app on Switch and Switch 2. That's known as version 3.0. That's added a boost-up Easter egg featuring the Nintendo logo on Game Boy 1 and a collected sounds. They added a similar Easter egg to the Game Boy Advance app back in September. Then they added the iconic GameCube start screen, the cube, from June. So it can be found in the same way. So it's tweaking it a little bit with this Game Boy, Nintendo Online world. I think Richie still has Nintendo Online. It's one of those where actually it's ticking along nicely if you want to play these retro games rather than, I guess, selling them to you direct and hoping that you jump in and get this. Now, none of these games look phenomenal. Battletoads is fun. They're all definitely of a time, but they are, I guess, old games, right? They're all of an era. I mean, I was looking the other day at James Bond. I have the original James Bond game on Game Boy. And when you boot that up, it's basically, it wouldn't be a James Bond game if it wasn't for the artwork and the 8-bit theme tune that's in there. But similar to this, Kid Icarus, it's Kid Icarus. It kind of looks like Mario if he had a bow, and he's wearing the Tanuki outfit, so he can flap around and fly a little bit. But all things said and done, I do enjoy and appreciate what Nintendo are doing with their online offerings. They're slowly but surely adding more and more stuff to it, more and more stuff to play. But in its entirety, it's decent. It's not too bad. I think you can get it for like £40 for the whole year now, and I know that's why Richie keeps getting it. I don't think I have enough time. I've actually just cancelled my Game Pass subscription, which I wasn't going to do. I think it locked in at $22.99 from December, so this is the first coming month that I would have had to pay the new upped price. But you know what? When it came to sitting down and thinking, what games am I going to be playing between now and January? And with Call of Duty souring me so bad on the campaign, I kind of looked at my list and I'm getting Indiana Jones for Christmas on the PlayStation. So I know I'll be playing that. That's probably going to go for a platinum run. After playing Dispatch this past week, I want to do a platinum run on that one. And then, yeah, I kind of feel like I want to dive into something else. I know some folks in our Discord, in our chat, Lee especially, one of the members of the channel, has said so much Arc Raiders, and I keep seeing stuff about Arc Raiders. I was waiting for Payday, but then Dispatch got me. So Arc Raiders is still on my radar. I kind of want to see how the vibe for that continues over the next coming weeks and see if they can still keep up the hype. I've heard the online community isn't as nicey as it first was. I've seen a lot of videos now where saying nobody communicates in proxy chat now. They just go straight in with gunfire. So I don't know if I'm jumping into a hostile environment now, or maybe I need you guys out on a live stream there to kind of hold my hand a little bit and guide me through the world of Arc Raiders. But Really happy to see that game doing well. It actually got referenced in South Park this past week, of all things as well. So you know you've made it big when you get referenced in South Park. We all remember a wonderful World of Warcraft episode from back in the day. But yes, so PlayStation Plus games looking good, Nintendo Online games looking good. Let's turn over things that unfortunately aren't looking good, and that is the studio over at Splash Damage. We've got a soft spot in our heart over at Splash Damage over here for them, because the last title was a Google Stadia exclusive in the form of Outcasters, if you remember that title. This is the UK studio that traditionally have been known for making Gears of War Tactics. They were originally making Transformers Reactive. Before that got canned, that project back in January. So the studio's been suffering quite a few difficulties. So not only did the Transformers project get cancelled at the beginning of the year, which left a lot of roles at risk for redundancy, we've not really heard much about them since then. In September, it was then acquired by an unnamed private equity investor, which we know from the GamesIndustry.biz article, but they never really said who it was. It was always just like a shadow company. It was previously owned by Tencent, who acquired the studio back in 2020. So Splash Damage have kind of been passed around from pillar to post, and unfortunately with their last game, albeit a great fun game in Outcasters, it was very much an arcade indie game, for lack of a better term. Like, it was a couple of maps. It didn't really utilise cloud gaming in any way, shape or form, but it was a fun little game, and I do think if it was put out by an indie studio and they supported it, you could quite happily see it becoming something more. But unfortunately, it was stranded on there. And staff were notified of redundancies earlier this week. They put out a public statement on LinkedIn which said, and I quote, "This was a difficult step for us to take, but we believe it's the necessary step so Splash Damage can remain agile and adaptable in what has been a very challenging market. We know this kind of change is emotionally tough, and we will do what we can to guide our people through the process with honesty and care. We're committed to exploring every option to retain talent and make sure those affected have meaningful support throughout." And yeah, as I said, the shooter exclusive to Google Stadia. It's a shame they didn't get an Outcasters port just to get some money in the door, because you can imagine a port would have been the cheapest thing to do. But yeah, previously Gears of War Tactics. They've worked on a few of the Halo games as a support studio as well. They had in 2023 announced a AAA open world survival game project, but then no details were ever shared, so I'm guessing that seems to be gone now. And yeah, it's just one of those shameful, unfortunate things where the UK market in particular seems to be getting absolutely raked across the coals right now in terms of layoffs. We know loads of companies are doing it, even Grand Theft Auto, Rockstar people. Obviously, they've made a few people redundant, seemingly through other reasons. But yeah, we've had a few studios shut down, and yeah, it's a big shame. I've got a soft place in my heart for Splash Damage, but the reality is they've not put out anything meaningful outside of being a support studio in quite a while. So I wish them all the best, and thankfully, being in the UK, they will be looked after in terms of redundancies, in terms of severance packages and notice and stuff like that. It's not like they just absolutely shut it out there with nothing to fall back on, but sad all the same. Right, moving on to our next story of the week, and that one is the Embracer Group, another studio known for its output and game buying and spreading and stuff like that. This particular story comes from
We've located the
Embracer Group in particular.
But that's not all.
Selling 2 more studios from an expansive portfolio they've had for many years now, of just buying and acquiring stuff over and then going through terrible financial turmoil. This week, the Swedish company announced that it will divert Arc Games and Cryptic Studios for $30 million to Project Golden Arc. And Arc Games, formerly known as the Perfect World Entertainment Gearbox Publishing San Francisco, mouthful, was responsible for the recent Star Trek Online, Neverwinter, Remnant for the Ashes, From the Ashes, sorry, is probably their biggest one, and Cryptic Studios in particular was the developer of the Star Wars game, amongst others. As part of the deal, Embracer agreed to retain their publishing rights to the Remnant franchise, which makes sense because it's the biggest thing, so they're basically selling their assets off for a fair chunk of cash, but without the need to, I guess, lose out on probably the most prestigious IP. So as part of the deal, yeah, they retain the rights for that, and the rights for the MMO Fellowship, which has been moved entirely to the Coffee Stain Group. So there's another studio within that. So it's one of those things where Embracer have acquired loads of people, studios, locations. They scraped all the money out of them they can. They've got rid of the staff and relocated them where they can. They've got rid of some studios. They've used some IP for like light remastering work and stuff. They're still working on basically getting their shit together. And they quoted saying in a statement from Embracer CEO Phil Rogers, "This transaction supports our key priorities by strengthening our focus on strategic assets and core IP within Embracer while improving profitability and free cash flow. The deal also allows online multiplayer game Fellowship, developed by the talented team in Stockholm, to find a great new home within the Coffee Stain Group," which is, again, within the Embracer umbrella, they've kind of broken them down. You've got like Middle-earth and Friends, which is the Lord of the Rings stuff they somehow own. Then you've got, Coffee Stain looks after the more indie-style ones. And they have a couple of ones as well. They used to have Gearbox under Borderlands before they got sold back to Take-Two. So it's just a whole thing. It's all over the place. But yeah, they acquired them back in 2021 as part of that kind of massive grand acquisition spree that they went on. But then after that $2 billion worth of investment, there was something to do with the Saudi PFI fund. If you remember, it was like a $2 billion investment that were promised, and then it fell through, which meant Embracer had to like drastically restructure. So it could have been all sunshine and rainbows, and then it all went to shit. So that began. They got rid of Sabre, I think. Gearbox was sold off, as I've just mentioned. They knocked the headcount down last year. I think they made a redundancy of about couple hundred employees. The studios have been closed, so 44 studios have been closed, and 80 in development projects were cancelled, which is insane. And then the former CEO announced that he was stepping down as well amongst all that. So new CEO, restructuring, no fund, but yeah, absolute shit show over Embracer. But clearly they're selling assets off now. It strikes me as when football clubs sell assets to themselves to make profit. So are these studios worth that much? Not too sure. But then it's similar to football clubs who buy the women's football club and sell it back to themselves. So it's like, we bought our women's football team for 100 million. But it was your football team, you owned it. But it's, again, business and tax and companies and write-offs and all that acquisition shit. So what you going to do? Moving on though to, I guess, segueing a little bit. It's hard to do segues when you're solo on it. But yes, speaking of the PIF investment from the Saudi Arabia big money thing, the rumour is this week that they are running low on cash. And I know the trailer I'm playing right now is Assassin's Creed Mirage. And that's not because it represents Saudi Arabia in any way, shape or form in the Mirage game being set in that part of the world. Purely because they also invested in Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed Mirage, which has recently had its new free DLC drop, which was such an odd move by Ubisoft, but then seemingly it's part of the Saudi Arab investment fund kind of pushing content out there that links in. Who really knows now? But the report is saying that they're running low on cash following investments in projects and financial distress. So this comes from a report in the New York Times.
My father's very great policing, Robert. I must learn all I can.
Sounds just had a big cough.
Nothing can stop me from
Normally I'd hand it over, Richie, take over. But yeah, part of that, he was in the Saudi Crown Prince was in Washington, of course, Trump, and he was briefed on the country's operations. But apparently projects are in financial distress, including Neom, which is the big metropolis they're building out in the desert. That's having issues. They've got a coffee chain, they've got a cruise line, they've got an electric vehicle startup. It's basically trying to invest in everything outside of oil. If you've not seen this in sports, myself and Richie, we're both Newcastle United fans. Again, similar thing where there's money going into it. But yeah, the PIF claims it holds nearly $1 trillion in assets, but a huge portion of that are held in hard-to-sell assets with no public valuation. So according to the New York Times, international investment told the PIF is unable to allocate any more money for the foreseeable future. So while none of it's mentioned projects in financial distress in gaming in particular, the PIF fund, I say PIF fund, it's actually, the fund is part of the PIF, so I'm saying fund twice essentially. That's made significant investments in the industry, but then the more recent one is, they're acquiring EA as part of a investors group with Affinity Partners, whose CEO is Donald Trump's son-in-law. It's a whole, I'll give you money, you scratch my back, I'll give you money, you can invest here. Personally, it doesn't sit right with me, the EA buyout, especially with the country's track record for certain laws around human rights and stuff, and we don't get into it in the show, and I'm not going to get into it now because it's a whole separate show unto itself. But in terms of gaming investments, they've also invested, I think, Pokemon Go's Niantic. I think they bought them recently. As I mentioned, Ubisoft's DLC for Assassin's Creed Mirage, which like randomly came out of nowhere. It's just a bit of an odd one all around. I mean, it's out now, the Mirage DLC. I've not had any feed to go back to, but apparently the Crown Prince is an avid gamer, and that's his big motivation behind these investments. So yeah, I wish I had $1 billion to just go and buy EA and make my own games and be involved in the industry in that way, shape or form. But I guess he likes gaming enough to preserve it and do good things with it, but we shall see. So yeah, the report on lack of cash, don't really know what it means. The games industry makes a lot of money if you hit it right, and EA is one of the biggest churners of profit in the industry, so who knows? I'll tell you how you can make profit though, everyone. You can port your games quicker to PC than you would have always traditionally done, and that comes as our next story of the week.
Sam, I'm asking you
PlayStation 5 exclusive Death Stranding 2 on the beach from Kojima Productions is apparently coming to PC a little quicker than expected. Death Stranding 2 on the beach has been rated for PC by the ESRB ratings board, which suggests a release might be on the way very, very soon. That will come as little surprise to anyone who's watched the show for a while, because the first Death Stranding also came to PC after it was originally released on the PlayStation 2 back in 2019. It came to PC a mere 8 months later, July 2020. Taking a drink, everyone.
The timefall storms are growing more intense as well.
Then the director's version of the game came to PS5 in 2021, the back end of it, and then the PC part of that came
and earthquakes have been
a few months later in 2022.
Spirits of the dead
so Death Stranding came out originally on PS2 in July this year, so the ESRB rating coming 5 months later would suggest the PC one has come a little bit quicker than normal. And back to the point I made about Control and Remedy at the beginning of the show, we all know Jeff Keighley is best friends with Hideo Kojima. So do I expect to see the Death Stranding 2 coming to PC trailer at the Game Awards? Yes. There will probably be a reference to Metal Gear Solid in it somehow. They'll maybe do... Do you think they'll do a director's cut so soon? I'm not too sure. It's up for a few Game Awards, so if Kojima's there to accept maybe even Game of the Year, it wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, seeing it up there as a PC port, I think it makes sense. Again, Kojima Productions, as much as it is an exclusive
also able to make use of your
to PlayStation with Death Stranding,
this way, you
I think we can definitely agree that it's a very loose relationship with PlayStation in terms of marketing, and Death Stranding pardon me, is also on Xbox, so we know PlayStation are happy to play ball with Kojima to get this game out of it. But ultimately, I think when it comes down to marketing, PlayStation are happy for it to go to PC. It'll mean that they get their money on the PC front. If it wins a few Game of the Year awards,
before you charge in,
it'll probably go up there.
You can get a better handle
it is
on the
apparently
situation.
fantastic. It's one of those
and
franchises
improve your odds of getting the job done quietly.
As of Richie, Death Stranding just hasn't got its hook to me. I played the opening beginning at a friend's a while back. Yeah. Who knows? But I'm watching gameplay now. Man, you know what? I could go for something. I just need to find the time. In between what I'm playing now, I said I'm going to go back to Dispatch. I've got Indiana Jones. I've had this urge all week to go back to Cyberpunk as well, because I never finished Cyberpunk because the stages collapsed, and I never played the Phantom Liberty DLC as well. So that's sat on my shelf ready. I look at Death Stranding 2 and I've seen it in the Black Friday sales, and I'm like, okay. Today is Cyber Monday as well, so chances are I'm probably scrolling through my phone right now as you're listening and watching this, looking at what games are on offer. I've got the Resident Evil games I want to go back to. Starting at 2 Remake and working my way through 3 and 4 in the lead up to not Village, Requiem. And then at the same time I've also got James Bond First Light coming out, which means I want to go back and play some old Bond games, Everything or Nothing. I kind of want to do a full playthrough of Everything or Nothing on the channel. But you'll have to keep it tuned to find out. But yeah, traditionally, Sony's been finding success on PC. Kojima likes it. Helldivers 2, of course, last year, came out on PC, sold 12 million copies across both. Stellar Blade also got a port as well, and no doubt Ghost of Yote is probably going to come next year as well. So, who knows? Kojima has a concept for Death Stranding 3, so who knows? For those who've been listening for a few weeks and concerned that my cough's been going for so long, I have actually booked a doctor's appointment for this week because it's a chest infection. Shouldn't last this long. Anyway, take a deep breath. Next story is we near the end of our show. I don't think I can go for much longer, folks. Call of Duty Black Ops 7. European sales are down, even on Battlefield 6 numbers.
Fear makes you easier to
That hasn't stopped it from being Europe's biggest top seller at all. But disappointing in Europe, its sales are reportedly down 63% when compared to Battlefield 6's bumper debut launch weekend. We already knew something was up when Activision's own response felt a little bit muted than previous years. They haven't put any Twitter posts out, they haven't spoken about X million plays, but we also know from Game Business data that sales are down more than 50% when compared to its predecessor in Black Ops 6. However, the analytics are also always going to be skewed because Black Ops 7 is available at no extra charge on Xbox Game Pass Ultimate and PC Game Pass. So anyone who's subscribed at that high price, it's going to skew the figures. We know this. However, things like overwhelming dislike verdict on Metacritic, it's unpopular across the board. I saw this week it's getting a Logan Paul skin and hero pack as a operator, I think they're called, within the game. And all things said and done, of course, it's still going to be the biggest selling game of the month by units in revenue. And I think people just need to accept that, Black Ops 7 has fundamentally changed its formula. I mean, even anyone viewing YouTube now, the neon lights and the skins and the bombastic approach to it, it's not really warfare anymore. If you're vibing with the change and you're liking the, Fortnite-fication of it, tied in with Warzone, have at it. The drug-induced, crazy giant boss fights that you do, have at it. For me, it's getting too far away from what makes Call of Duty, and that's why Battlefield 6, unsurprisingly, is at a meteoric rise this particular year. But not looking good for Black Ops, unfortunately. So we'll have to wait and find out if it tapers off or if it keeps its hold of the title.
Challenge pack when you pre-order now.
Final few quick stories we've got here. One I wanted to touch on was the PlayStation 5 sales in Japan have quadrupled as a new model of launch. So we didn't cover it on last week's show, but PlayStation released a new model exclusive to Japan. And what we saw is price was slashed. I think it was brought down. So the price drop came down from 72,000 and a bit yen, which is about $473, down to 55,000 yen, which is about 350 quid. So dollars, again, sorry, not quid. Dollars, which means if you think about it, you're actually looking at a difference of a good, 120 quid? I'm going to say quid, just to reference, $120 to pound savings, like thinking, comparing the numbers. And looking at the hardware results of this kind of Japanese-specific campaign, it's jumped up there. The PS5 Digital Edition jumped up to second place, selling 23,000 units, which doesn't sound like a lot, but bear in mind, the week prior, PS5 sales were only at 5,000. So for it to jump up to 23,000 and quadruple it is kind of wild. This particular unit is exclusive to Japan in a way that it won't work. It is region locked, so similar to back in the kind of PSP days when you would have region locked specific games, or the PS3 days, sorry. You need a Japanese PSN account. It only comes in the Japanese language. Maybe that'll change over time, but this is a model intended to sell in Japan. And to put that into context for the wider market, the Series X Digital Edition only sold 201 units. The Switch 2 sold 126,000. Again, so even the Switch 2 was skyrocket amounts ahead of the PS5, even with the price cut. The lonely Series S sold 30 units. And even the PlayStation 4 sold 17 units, so the old PS4 hanging on there. And the PlayStation 5 Pro sold 11,000, so that the Pro model also jumped up quite a little bit. But Switch 2, we know Switch 2 absolutely dominates the Japanese gaming scene, but all things said and done, it's clearly working for them. And again, I always think it's a bit sad sometimes when PlayStation doesn't have that hold on its own home market, because again, if I lived in the UK and we had a console, the Champion, I'd like to think we'd support it a bit more, but then again, we didn't with our automotive industry or any other industry. So what were you going to do? And then speaking of successful ones, I mentioned it briefly, but Cyberpunk, something that I keep meaning to go back to. CD Projekt Red announced this week that it's surpassed 35 million copies sold, which puts it online with the entire Horizon franchise over at PlayStation. So just one game that had a terrible launch has somehow turned around as part of their annual, quarterly financial report. They put out a video that basically said, really good sales, better results than The Witcher 3 was able to achieve in the same post-release time frame. So Cyberpunk is currently our main source of revenue, and we continue to expand its availability. Obviously, no surprise there, Witcher 3 is quite old now. Everyone's bought it or picked it up on the Game of the Year edition for like £15, so no surprise it's not sharing out the profits.
Are you afraid?
But yeah, busy year for Cyberpunk overall. We've got the impressive Switch 2 launch, which wasn't botched somehow. It's available on other things. It's been on subscription services like PlayStation Plus. And yeah, overall, Phantom Liberty, give it that extra injection. We saw the Game of the Year edition, which is the one me and Richie both picked up. So yeah, it's currently working on bulking out its Cyberpunk 2 team. It's ended full production now, so apparently 135 devs are working on one. We also know the studio's biggest project is by far The Witcher 4, which has a report of 447, and we know those specifically because in their quarterly results they literally tell you exactly down to the person the manpower they're working on it. So we know, yeah, they've done tech demos and stuff. We've seen trailers for The Witcher and everything like that. But it's interesting to see how Cyberpunk could have been just left and dropped, and yet credit where credit's due. They stuck to it. They even put out a Google Stadia version, and yeah, The Witcher 4 is going to be nominated. It is nominated in the most highly anticipated game category at the Game Awards, and yet that comes despite the fact that they haven't really kicked off the marketing campaign yet. So The Witcher is going to be huge when it comes around, and in light of the TV series seemingly falling off a cliff on Netflix, the game I think will be. We think about big ones coming up. You've got Grand Theft Auto is undoubtedly going to be the hugest. You've got Elder Scrolls, I guess, somewhere in there. But I do think, yeah, The Witcher 4 is probably going to be up there in second place under Grand Theft Auto, I would imagine. You would think, right? I can't really think of anything as big that would come out. We know Xbox's Fest Pie's got nothing of that magnitude. I think maybe a God of War would be hype. I think Wolverine is hype, but I don't think it's anywhere near what Witcher 4 will be. So yeah, let me know in the comments. Speaking of other franchises, last few ones as we kind of wind down towards the TV, we've got Netflix's Assassin's Creed show is apparently going to be set in ancient Rome. That makes sense. Didn't actually see the Fassbender one, but yeah, there's interesting stuff coming out of it. It's going to be in a reported time featuring around the time of Emperor Nero, 54 to 68 AD, whatever that means to you historians. It's going to be centered on the secret war between two shadowy factions, one set determining mankind's future through control and manipulation, while the other fights to preserve free will. The series will follow its characters across pivotal historical events as they battle to shape humanity's destiny. So yeah, interesting stuff. I do think Assassin's Creed will work much, much better as a TV series rather than the movies did, because I just think you've got more time to tell stories, flesh out characters, create intrigue and plot, which I think you need that for an assassination style game, and to kind of showcase the history as well. I think they can do a really good job at showcasing ancient Rome, similar to how the likes of Game of Thrones and with the production value of showcase, like not obviously real locations, but that fantasy world being so rich and lived in. I think it could work really, really well. And then another quick one is FX has ordered a series adaptation of Ubisoft's Far Cry from Noah Hawley and Rob Mack, also known as Rob McElhenney, who's recently just changed his name to Rob Mack apparently because no one can pronounce his name. But yeah, Variety has learned that in addition to co-creating the series, Rob Mack is also going to star in it. So Far Cry, do we see him playing the antagonist from Far Cry 3? Is it Vaz? Can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, I could see him doing that. He's obviously big into his gaming because he's had his Mythic Quest series on Apple TV, which is really, really good. If you've not seen that, that includes a lot of people from the games industry, use Ubisoft Studios. Yeah, Far Cry, I could have seen it as a movie, realistically. There was, I think, a direct-to-DVD type movie of Far Cry back in 2008 when the game was released. Vass is the guy, a bad guy called Vass. But either way, you know what? Interesting. I could totally see it happening. And it's one of those things where companies are dipping into the gaming world for just IP, known quantities, existing fan bases, and doing what they possibly can. Right, so the final story of the week that I'll bring to you all now, because I feel like I have to, is it's a shocker, folks. Of all the stupid and bad decisions Xbox has made, this is by far the worst. And maybe our audience is going to be split, maybe not. Level up your luck with Xbox and Crocs exclusive gaming-inspired classic clogs. Now, you can't see my face now because I'm covering it with this article, but my word, they say game mode enabled, Xbox and Crocs have teamed up to release an exclusive collection. If you wear Crocs, you've got a problem. And I know some of our viewers and listeners will wear Crocs. They're comfortable, you tell me. They're good if you work long shifts on your feet, they tell me. But then I look at people in my family who wear them, and they wear socks with them as well, socks and Crocs. Just what's wrong with a normal pair of trainers? Like, maybe I'll be converted. They come with additional extras, the little tag things. They come with buttons and joysticks. You can get Fallout accessories. Sea of Thieves. But realistically, folks, you're going to go buy these Crocs? No matter how you choose to play, or where your holiday plan is, or where your holiday plan takes you, the iconic Xbox controller-inspired clog will be with you for every step of the fun. Available on the Crocs website starting tomorrow. Should we have a look, see how much this pair of rubber printed... Oh, page isn't working. Oh, Crocs. Maybe it's in the US only. Oh well, that's a shame. I can't get my hands on them. Oh dear, oh dear. But as always, folks, we like to end every single episode of the Gamer Guild podcast with this day in video game history. And somehow, after an hour of the show, here we are talking about November 30th. As I said, I say November 30th. It's the 31st in 12 minutes time. That's right. I'm recording right up to midnight. Then I've got to edit this, render it, put it out, upload it to YouTube. I might not even timestamp this week's episode. Get an audio version out for audio feeds to go live as well. So yes, this day in 30th and all the 31st by the time I'm finished in video game history. Diablo on PC for me. Let's see, what have we got that stands out? Harvest Moon 64. Oh, Dead Nation. Shout out to Dead Nation on the PlayStation 3 15 years ago in 2010. Dead Nation's fantastic. Dead Nation could do with the Helldivers treatment. Make it third person, swap out the bugs from Helldivers and give us zombies, and you're on to an instant win. Nothing much this day outside that. Let's move on. December 1st. What comes out in the Christmas month? Prince of Persia 2 Thrones, 20 years ago. Not really most reviewed. The Wii Fit, 18 years ago in Japan. Wow. The original Avatar game, 16 years ago in 2009. We got James Cameron's Avatar the Game, which wasn't that bad if I recall. The Crew came out on PS4 11 years ago. Worms Rumble, there's a shout out. Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege, 10 years ago in 2015, and it's still going strong to this day. And then fast forwarding to the last day I'll do, December 2nd, The Revenge of Shinobi. Yes, 1989's Revenge of Shinobi, 36 years ago, just as old as me. And anything I'm missing? Pikmin, the original Pikmin on the GameCube, 24 years ago. Shout out to that. The original, it's not the original, it's not Prince of Persia on PS3, because that came out on PS2, the original ones. That must be like a reboot they tried to do. Oh, there's actually, shout out to that Game of Thrones Telltale series. I mentioned that right at the beginning of the show, talking about Dispatch. 11 years ago I played in Platinum that game. I didn't actually mind it that much. Didn't mind it that much in all honesty. And then Marvel's Midnight Suns, 3 years ago already since that, and 3 years since the Callisto Protocol. I swear to God, the Callisto Protocol feels like yesterday when that came out. But all things said and done, folks, that brings us to an end of a very unique and special episode of the GamerGuild Podcast, of course. Normally I do this with a co-host, but somehow I've managed to talk for just over an hour, rounding up all of the week's video game news. So if you haven't done so already, do give the video a like, subscribe, and ring-a-ding-ding that bell so you're kept in the loop with all the great content we do here on the channel, like this very show, like our weekly live streams, our Let's Plays, our Retro Looks Backs, our PlayStation Retro Hunt, where I go on the search for some exclusive PlayStation games, and much, much more. If you haven't done so already, do join us in the Discord. Link is in the description below. Join myself and a bunch of like-minded gamers talk about all things video games every single day of the week. Thank you for everyone who's tuned in. Thank you for your continued support. And of course, thank you to our Gamer Guild heroes, the fantastic members who support the channel that extra little bit further. From as little as 99p, like you can do below. You can support us and get early access stickers and badges and many of the shows that I've just mentioned as well. But that's it for episode 120 of the GamerGuild Podcast. We didn't break the streak. I wouldn't let it happen, folks. Thank you very, very much just to listen to me rabble on, I guess, for an entire hour or so about video games. Hopefully my voice and my coughing, which I have tried to mute out some of the time, but I've probably not caught it all. So yet, the title for this episode should definitely be Let Me Solo Her, if you get that reference, because it's just been me on my own. Thank you very much for tuned in. Richie will no doubt be back next week. Tom and Rob will be here on the show, no doubt, in the future. But yeah, thank you very much. Happy gaming, folks. My name's been Chris. Follow us on at GamerGuildTV and at Arcane Rogue, and I'll see you on the next one. But above all else, remember, play whatever makes you the happiest. Goodbye.